here? I'm assuming they're the originals? Okay, so you wanted to keep it OEM, so you wanted to find those and keep them stock. That's extremely good, and I can understand your point of view on this. How do you feel the ride has been with this vehicle? You like it? Okay. All right. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to start and do the same thing. But let's go over a couple of quick did you know facts about the fifth generation. Let's start with the convertible top. The convertible top was actually second design, came out in 2002, and it did a number of different things. It changed the top design from a 5-layer to a 7-layer top. They changed the rear weather strip that goes along the number 5 where it contacts the tonneau. In 98 to 2001, we did have some issues where the fabric would actually touch the top and it would rub the paint a little bit. So what they ended up doing was putting a little weather strip back there with increased stuffing inside. So it didn't allow the pressure in the glue to come down. Well, one thing that I tell people all the time with fifth generation, and there's not a lot of people who talk about this, is the fact that these convertible tops require adjustment on a periodic basis. And these adjustments are so critical to the life of these tops because look, let's face it, you can't get these tops from GM anymore. You cannot get them. So care is of the absolute essence as far as this entire design. Look, this was the first design that did not have rear locating pins to snap the convertible top down. The way you produce tension was latching the front header. That's the way you produce tension to seal everything up so that it worked accurately. But this top is in amazingly good shape. It's very, very good. I'm going to do a quick mileage check. 28,000 miles, and it literally looks like it came off the showroom floor. That's how good this convertible top was. Now, from this point, I'm going to take a quick look around the vehicle. We obviously have a really nice set of exhaust tips there, so the exhaust buffers haven't changed. But in the same instance, we look at other things. These rims were only for the 50th anniversary, and I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to take a look. You have an Optima red top here. Okay, I'm going to just take this off real quick, and I'm going to check. Now, what was one of the problems that you had with the vehicle? Yes? Did all the lights shut off, or did all the lights come on? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Of course. Mm-hmm. Did you see any lights on the dashboard? No lights. Oh, that's okay. That's all right. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Yep. I got you. Uh-huh. Okay. Well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's what I'm going to show you. Why don't you step over here? Rosemary, you may be out of the pan on this one, but you can see your negative battery cable is loose. That negative battery cable is everything. And I talk about terminal tension on side post batteries all the time. And if I can do this, that means you could potentially have no connection at any time. So what we're going to do is we're going to torque that down. Alex, I need you to go into my toolkit, get the 1/4-inch drive socket set in the bottom. It's in the black case, a blue case, yeah, all the way in the bottom. To take those others off, and then get me an 8mm. We're going to torque these fasteners to specification because both these terminals are loose, but the negative is the worst one. That could have created all the key for you is no lights. No lights at all. That's the key. If you've got no lights, that essentially means that you've got no electricity. Okay? So we're going to slide Rosemary in there, and we're just going to show her really quick. Let's step back a little bit, and we're just going to show them really quick. The battery terminal right here it's moving a good, I'd say a good 16th of a revolution. But you can see that loose cable terminal, that could create all the problems that you're experiencing. So we're going to turn that down. But what we're going to do from this point is we're going to lift it up. We're going to take a quick look on the underside. But battery terminal tension, I preach this time and time again. And Rosemary has a really good shot of that negative terminal right now. It's tough to get in there. I mean, it's not easy. So you got to use a very short profile torque wrench, and it's only set to 11 foot-pounds. That's it. Very, very simple, very straightforward. But that's so important to how these vehicles run. Because remember, in 1997, this was the first of state of the art. The way that the electronic system works is they all talk on one thin wire. All 13 control modules, if you have all of them, talk on one line. So if something goes wrong, you're going to see a warning light. But the fact that it just shut off out of nowhere indicates to me I'm looking for battery voltage first, without any other exception. I'm always looking at the battery terminals first, okay? And now Alice is going to find this workbench, and in the meantime, we're going to put this up in the air, and we're going to take a look at the underside, okay? Have you noticed any other type of performance issues while this vehicle was running? Okay. Okay, now how long ago was it from the time that you started it and it seemed to hesitate? How long ago was that, do you think? Okay, a few months ago, you turned the key, you tried to start it, it seemed like it was running a little rough, and then it just said, man. Understood. So you were trying to give it gas and it wouldn't rev up. Okay, that's an important clue. So now from this point, I'm just going to do the same thing I did with the other two vehicles. I'm going to take a quick look on the underside, and we're going to take a look, and we're going to see if we have anything on it. Now, first off, your magnet on your oil filter is ready to fall off. So I'm going to take that off for you. Okay? Now the magnet on the oil filter doesn't really do a whole lot. It is a little bit of an issue, but in this particular point, you've got an oil leak. Okay? See that? Okay, now, one thing I've noticed about fifth generation is the more that the vehicles age, the oil pan gasket, because it's an aluminum stamping with a rubber type of silicone, it just ages. It just ages, it doesn't really seal that well anymore, but it's time. I mean, this vehicle was 17 years old. So, I mean, it's not a horrible thing, but time consuming is what it is because you have to take out the undercarriage. It's a long, drawn-out job, and it's not easy. To put a new gasket on, yes, that is accurate. Because the oil leak itself does not seem to be becoming high. It does not seem to become to the top parting line. So there is a lower half. It's called a lower pan. I would only replace this, which only takes about an hour. It doesn't seem to be the upper oil pan gasket. So I think you're doing okay there. Now, taking a quick look at the tires. Tires were manufactured in 06, so they're relatively good. They should be compliant. There's plenty of life on the brake pads. I'd say maybe 5 millimeters. So that's less than half, less than 50%. But it's obvious that you're not driving the car at all. Now, because they have had a propensity to leak over time, and unfortunately, your right side, right foot, that kind of drag between shock is leaking. Pretty good. It's actually got some oil residue on the control wall. So that might be something that you're going to have to address. The problem is, the shock absorbers are $700 a piece. That's a problem. So now I'm going to come over here to the back of the vehicle and just do a quick inspection. Okay, I'm looking for any differential leaks. The differential is actually why. I'm looking at the shock absorber, and unfortunately, this shock absorber. So why don't you walk back around here? Angelo, could you guide him around here to the back? I need to look at the shock absorber. Unfortunately, you can see right here. See that shock absorber? It's leaking very, very badly. This is probably the worst because it's soaked with the control lock. See that? Okay, now this one's starting to, but see, having some control arm, it's starting though. So shock absorbers are probably going to be your next course of action. Look, if you've got pre-leaking, yeah, I that's a huge bill, but just enough. Shock absorbers certainly are not inexpensive at all. $700 per shock absorber. You figure you've got 4 of them. Needless to say, that's going to be a huge bill. Alex, let's lower the vehicle. All right, and then what we'll do from there is make absolutely certain that there's nothing else going on, and then we'll slide the gentleman out of the way. Is there anything else that, any other questions that you have? Yes, please. No? Yeah, and the big thing about leaks is that you notice the other one, the one that was over here, it wasn't going down that far. Part of our shock absorber of 11 pounds. So we're going to try this. Now, you're going to be here the next couple of days? Yes, sir. Okay, well, you're going to have to let me know how it works. So there's the torque setting right there. And we're going to go right over here to the battery, and we're going to get you taken care of it. And let's see how far this battery volt goes. Turn it the right way. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to see how far this goes. Quarter turn. Half turn. There you go. Hear that? That click tells you that that was torque corrected. Now we're going to check the other side. Quarter turn. Eighth turn. Well, that was not an turn. Quarter, eighth. See how much this goes. And there you go. There's that last one. So these battery terminals were extremely loose. So that could bend your entire situation. So what I want you to do is over the next day or two, definitely come back in and see us and let us know what you have. Turn up. Always go, the majority of fifth generations are still that reliable. If you go in and you look at the simple things first, normally that's what's it. It's normally the simple things. Usually never anything like, oh my God, I got to replace an engine or something like that.
Bigger in the corner, right? Yeah, I got it. You just had to connect.
Pan Gasket. All right, we'll go with that. All right, Alex, barriers?
White box in the corner. Yeah, it'll full screen. I've never zoomed, bro. So right here, tap it. Hit F10. Yep, I did. Just leave that one there. That is awesome. Yeah. Your display was good. You hit F10.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that off for now. Okay. I'm gonna give this to the customer.
Still playing? Yeah, just click out of that display box. Yeah, over on all the way on the right. Right below the X. My bad. Minimize that thumbnail. I zoomed. It's a little microphone. No, I don't have it on mine. I did without my audio. Right here.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. And no, this is not the same car. We got two 50th anniversaries back to back. And this is a very, very good thing. You all know, obviously now you know how much I enjoy these cars. You know how much I enjoy the vehicles themselves. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the same basic roll down. We're going to take a quick look, just a few quick, simple things. Now, first thing I notice here, the battery size. We talk about batteries all the time, and you'll hear me talk about it ad nauseum. This actual battery is actually a smaller size than was supposed to be in here. It's not going to hurt it. It's not really horrible, but look, if you're storing a vehicle for a sustained period of time, and do you store your vehicle in the winter?
Yes.
Okay, so you figure what, 4 or 5 months, give or take? Okay, probably not sure in about 4 months. So here's the point. If you're going in, you want something that's going to stabilize the entire electrical system while it's in storage. Now, do you put a battery tender on it? Battery heating? You start at least once a week. How long do you let it run for? About 15 minutes. Try 30 minutes. Here's why. When you start up a vehicle and you let it idle, you are not actually charging the battery because you don't have enough engine RPM. You're stabilizing the electrical current, but you're not adding the electricity back in to the battery with higher RPMs as if you would drive down the highway. Okay, so think about that a little bit. Now, this is a 75 class, which has only a reserve capacity of 95. Reserve capacity is essentially the resistance to draining when it's sick. Essentially, that's what it is. So, if you look at that factor, and you look at the whole thing, what I would tell you is that I want something with low reserve capacity. Because the normal electrical draw when these vehicles sit, that's 5th gen from 97 to 2004, is about 20 to 30 milliamps. Over time, that can definitely degrade a battery. And it can definitely create a problem where maybe it finally weakens up to the point you can't get it started. So we're going to talk later on, and I'll give you the part number for the correct battery on this particular vehicle. Obviously, since I've already got the torque wrench, I'm going to give it a shot to make sure it's flat down. And it's actually sideways in the battery hold down. I think I'm going to have to take the hold down out. Give me the ratchet, the 6-inch extension, 13 millimeter socket out of the blue case. The blue case in the bottom there, the 1/4 inch drive set. The reason why is we want to make certain that we can get to these terminals to torque it. There's one that's slightly loose. It's not really horrible, but it still is there. Okay, so what we're going to do is in order to get our torque wrench into those fasteners, 13 deep. And then what we'll do is we're going to go in, we're going to take the battery so we can just tilt it. All we want to do is tilt it a little bit. And that tilt will give us the access with our torque wrench to get it down. All right, so we're going to do this really, really quick. I know it sounds like it's like a really heavy deal, but it's really actually not. Grab the other extension too while you're there. Thanks. And then what I do is I just loosen it up a little bit. And, oh, watch your step. All right. That's all right. No, and look, observation so that you can do it the next time is perfect. All right, so we're going to slide this up, lay it right there, and then I can take the battery now and I can go like this. Okay, so now I can get the torque wrench in there, and I get, okay, there you go, there's one. Okay, and then we're going to take the second one. So they were slightly loose, nothing heavy, but now because we've gotten it up to that point, now we can take the battery roll down, line it up back into position, which is right underneath my fat fingers, but that's all right. All right, and then we'll set it down in. It was not on correctly, no. Yeah, and it does happen from time to time. So we're just going to get it set in there. Yeah, and the corrosion is usually a result of either the alternator not charging accurately, or the battery just being drained too far. So the alternator has to give a massive jolt of electricity to get it where you want, and to get it back up to the correct state of charge. And see, now you're in, nice and solid, and you're not going to have to worry about it. All right, so now Alex, put it up here, please. Now, there is another issue that we're going to talk about. The other issue that the customer has is service AVI the service traction control. We're going to check into that last once I do a quick other vehicle inspection. Then we'll go through and check that out really quickly. So let's just get back on track here. We lost the feed there for a second. I apologize for that. No, it happens. It happens. Don't you worry about it. All right. All right, good enough. Now, get a little hoarse here. We're gonna start with a civil inspection, just like we did last time. I'm gonna look under it real quick, and then we'll take a look. The doors are not leaking over here. It's looking very, very good. But hey, oh yeah. Okay, so we need to have a little man-to-man discussion. Now, I am going to tell you something that's going to really, really bother you. So, let's come over here and stand here. Here's what I will ask you. Have you owned this vehicle since? Okay, so you bought it new. You bought it new. Okay. I am going to tell you something that is going to make you will literally blow your mind. This vehicle has like crap. It was like crap because there are 4 nylon stuff quick on 2003 and 2004 magnetic control cars. They're still in all 4 positions on this car. They are still in the shop. So now, that's why, remember when I was outside with you? I asked you, did it always sound like crap? Right, and this is where the details make the difference. Because look, let's just use this magnetic power control for interest of illustration. In 2003, when magnetic power control was introduced, they put a plastic stuffer that's about this thick. And they put it in here so when they let people fence the car carrier, it would bounce up and down and create a lot of problems. So if they push it down, it would hold tension and keep it from bouncing off. Those are go where you want. And it's going to ride infinitely better by the end of today, I promise you. Now, I can't do it right now because I don't have a rolling floor jack, but I'm going to, once we're done here, once the entire seminar is over, I'm going to get a hydraulic floor jack and I'm going to take all 4 stuffers out of this. All right, and I'm going to hand them to you, and I'm going to show them to you, and then that way you can take them and have a little, you can use them for a paper weight. They were never removed from pre-delivery inspection back in 2003. So you've had the car less than 2 years. So imagine what the original owner bought. Just saying. That's probably why I sold it. Yeah, I've heard that from more than one people here, right? But that's what it comes down to. Simple detail. And you know, I tell you back in 2003, because I was doing all the pre-delivery inspections in my dealership, they had a big bold statement in the pre-delivery form that said, please remove shock stuffers on magnetic ride control cars. It was in big black letters. You couldn't miss this if you were blind. I think that's why the lights are on. No, I do not believe that those stuffers are the reason why you have a service ABS light on. That I'm going to check now. Okay, there are no leaks under the vehicle as far as oil goes. You look very good there. But we're going to have to take care of the shock stuffers later. Fair enough? Alex, lower the vehicle, please. Now, this comes back to details. And you've heard me say it time and time and time and time and time and time again. Details make the difference when it comes to serving Corvette. And it is that important, and I cannot stress that enough. So now what we're going to do from here is we lower it down. 5th generation had a really, really awesome thing that they put in, which was actually a carryover from 4th generation. And what it was you could actually extract diagnostic trouble codes from the insert panel cluster. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically turn the vehicle on. I'm going to extract the codes right now. And I'm going to see what codes you have for your service traction control. And let's see if we can't at least point you in the right direction. Okay, so we're gonna come over here. No, no, we don't need a type 2 in this case. What we're gonna do is we're gonna just take the vehicle, turn it to the opposition. Okay? And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna clear all the points. And now I'm gonna hit, and I'm gonna look for the diagnostic trouble codes. 10 PCM, there are no codes. Traction control system. C1214 is the actual code that's listed. And it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Let's put it that way. So the diagnostic trouble code basically says you don't have any electricity going to your anti-lock brakes. Essentially, that's what the code means. But unfortunately, 2003 brake traction control modules, 15 to $1,700, and that's not including the installation. But what happened was back when 5th and 6th were still in vogue, back in the mid 2000s, we had a discussion, and there is an actual place that we go, and we can actually get the power relay replaced within the module. So later on, I'm going to fill you in on that. We're running a little bit short on time, but we're going to move on. But now we know what we've got. Okay, we know we've got 4 shock stuffers that have to be removed. We know we've got an electronic brake traction control module that needs to be removed and sent out for repair. That's what we know. The rest of the vehicle is still very beautiful. It still is in a great shape. The convertible top is seamless. There's no tears, there's no rub marks, there's nothing. Everything looks really good. But thankfully, you're not like the last gentleman who has to replace the 4 shocks. We just got to get those stuffers out of there. And we will do that later on. Fair? All right, thank you very much, sir. I do appreciate that. Okay, we're going to lower this down and we're going to swap out for the next one. We will go down for a minute or two, but we will be right back and continue on. Bill would give me the complaint. Ken, we're going to go directly up with it, Alex. Go directly up with it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience as we move vehicles around. I do appreciate that. Now we're dealing with a 2003 that has been heavily modified. Heavily modified, I mean a ProCharger, yeah, looks like a ProCharger. Paxton centrifugal charger. All right, go ahead and put it up. This battery also is the smaller size, but still the battery terminals seem to be tight. Up. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to go through this, and we're going to see what's going on. So, sir, why don't you let me discuss with me exactly what you're dealing with?
My biggest concern is the noise it makes from starting up. It sounds like it's banging. I don't know if that's just normal from the car. This is my first one.
Okay.
So it's always made that sound. That's a problem. I can race it. It's not the music hard. And I want to know if there's something that's going to leave me sitting on the track somewhere.
I understand. So, look, heavily modified car, we like to use it for tracking, which is totally fine. You think that there are sounds underneath the car like crunching or grinding. Well, I can tell you what those are when you go over bumps. That's your polyurethane suspension system. Somebody modified the suspension to give you less deflection when you're on the track. Okay, so that's part of this. We're going to check it right now, actually, and we're going to see if we can't duplicate it. Now, you notice at low speeds, cold start hesitation. Explain that to me, please. Well, it is definitely possible that tuning is part of this. East Coast Supercharging, who I believe did this, they're very good with their tuning, but sometimes, hey, look, details are missed. I personally would go there first. But also remember that this vehicle requires a mass airflow sensor reading. And if that mass airflow sensor is off slightly, maybe one of the ducts might not be seated correctly, you can definitely take a look at that. Have you ever at any time seen a check engine light in regards to any of that? No check engine light at all. Now you also noted throttle response. Explain. So after the supercharging, that's when you notice the sluggish throttle response. Well, let's talk a little bit about supercharging for a minute. And supercharging works very, very well when you're always on the gas, because it's constantly using that pressure to develop more power. But here's the downside to it. The downside to supercharging is that driving that pulley and driving that blower takes anywhere usually between 75 to 150 horsepower. It takes it away just in the effort to turn that supercharger. So the loss of throttle response, I can kind of see where that would be in tune and where you would have that problem. Because look, if I'm sitting there and I'm looking at a vehicle that's supercharged, even with General Motors, even with LT4, LT5, look, there were some, it wasn't always perfect. The Kia really worked hard at that throttle response thing. So I'm looking there first. As long as my mass airflow sensor readings are accurate, and as long as the tune is accurate, I can almost say it's maybe a normal operating condition based on that. So now what we're going to do is the customer is talking about a squeaking noise. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a really quick look. I'm going to see if I can duplicate this. Okay, and I noticed it when I came in, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull down. You can hear it right there, because first, take a look at this. See this? See this hose rubbing in? Listen to this. Okay, that stabilizer bar is rubbing into the air duct, which is sandwiched right up against the subframe. This is sooner or later going to wear a hole in this. Okay, and that's, you can hear it just as I'm pulling down. Okay, so that could be part of it. Okay, Now, I'm looking, I was mistaken, there is no polyurethane on this. Not that I'm seeing right straight away, but you do have coilover shock absorbers, which is a very good thing. Coilovers definitely improve the handling of it. No engine oil leaks of any kind under here, long tube headers, high flow catalytic converters. And looking at the back, you have an adjustable stabilizer bar in the back with normal Heimlich in it. And it's not really creating any noise, and you don't have any differential fluid leaks. So, let me just pull on this a little bit here. So you can hear a little bit coming out of here. You notice how they put grease on there? They put grease on the bushings to help keep them from making noise. I think the second part of your issue is right here. And I would be looking at that. Obviously, I noted the 5-point roll cage. Thank you, Alex. So that's good. You've got the safety aspect in mind, which is excellent. And I'm looking at the rest of it. You have cross-road slotted rotors throughout. You're doing very well. I think it's just because of the modifications that you've had put on the vehicle, it can create different characteristics, like the lower throttle response on fire, like the squeaking noise. But I'm having them, whoever installed the supercharger, I'm having them look at that. I don't like that at all. You're sandwiching it together between two pieces of metal. Now, while the stabilizer bar is not a sharp piece of metal, this is. This is not, I would be a little bit concerned with it. Okay, and I would have them look at this and see if they maybe have a flatter hose that they can use or whatever. But certainly I would be looking at that. But is it only when you're leaving from a stop? So it's almost like would it be classified almost like a vibration? More of a grinding. It's not when you're shifting, it's just when you're low. I honestly think, does it happen below, does it ever happen above 1500 RPM? It's always low speed, right? I think it's normal. And here's why I'll tell you this. Remember, 5th generation was the first one to have a driveline support assembly in it, okay? Now, the driveline support assembly acts as a tuning fork. So whatever noise you have coming off the back end of the vehicle, like neutral gear rattle is completely normal in this vehicle, completely normal. But then you add the tuning fork aspect of the driveline support assembly, and it literally sounds like the bottom of the car falling apart. But then as soon as you leave off idle, it's gone. And it never comes back. That's the key. If you had it in each individual gear, that may be a different story. But in this particular case, when you're leaving from a stop, the normal classification that you see on the internet is marbles in a can. That's what they classify it as, noise. It's completely normal. And I do not believe you have any issues in any way, shape, or form on this. I would go normal. So with that said, and what we've evaluated, do you have any further questions? So you know the parts that you have to address now, what I would suggest, and then you can take it back to the person who put installed the supercharger and say, hey, listen, I'm worried about this, because sooner or later it's going to wear a hole. That's my opinion. All right? Anything else? Sir Alex, lower the vehicle, please. So what we learned here today, is, especially with this 2003, look, modifications create their own set of circumstances, so to speak. And those modifications, no matter, look, the customer likes to check the car. There is zero wrong with that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the modification. There's nothing wrong with doing all of these different things to make the vehicle a better track car. I mean, he even has Pilot Super Sport tires on it to give it a better stick of track. Makes total sense. But there's always going to be a downside to every modification. So if you go in, okay, I'm going to put a supercharger on this thing, but my off-auto throttle response might not be the best. Then you tack on the marbles in the can, you put those two things together, the more power that you would have to go through the driveline is driving the supercharger. You see what I mean? It's kind of like almost like a landslide thing. So it's nothing wrong with it. It's just characteristics of a certain modification creates a change. And that's really what it is in this case. All right, any further questions? Sir, thank you very much. Alex, we're going to drop the hood, and we will, I don't know, do we have another one, Shy? We have one other walk-in, so we'll go dark for a few minutes, and we'll make the car switch, and we'll be right back. Okay, all right. So, let's let's do this. Okay, I've been told that there are some of you that have questions about fifth and sixth generation. Once we're done with this final car, which I'm going to be pulling in now, we will have an opportunity for question and answer. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask about either fifth or sixth generation, you will be more than welcome to do so after that time.
I know.
I know you know. Okay, so I have been told by the powers that be that I actually have time to answer some questions. So that being said, I'm going to answer some questions. So who would like to go first? Okay, sir, go ahead. Yes, driveline support assembly, yes. A driveline support assembly has 3 bearings. It has 2 couplers. Now, look, a driveline support assembly, I'm sorry, I'm going to move back over here. A driveline support assembly is essentially a piece of aluminum about as long as my wingspan. And within it, there is a steel tube, there's a steel drive shaft. And within that steel drive shaft, you have 1 bearing at the front, you have 2 bearings at the back. And in between, you have 2 couplers. So you have the input shaft, you have your main shaft with a coupler here, and the output shaft on the end, which attaches to your transmission. Normally, when you experience any type of driveline type of failure, you may feel a vibration. When you rev it up a little bit more, you may also feel like, well, maybe it's noisier than normal. I've actually had some that make a clicking noise. Just a simple clicking noise because the rear preload wasn't set correctly. So there could be a lot of different things. But one thing I stress to everybody about this is that when you're diagnosing a noise concern with a driveline support assembly, there is only one option here, and that's utilizing a device we call chassis ears. Now, essentially what chassis ears is a microphone that clamps onto a piece of metal, and it goes into a little box. And I have earphones on. And I will go from component to component using that chassis gear to determine where the noise is most loud. Okay? And then from that point, I will go in, and once I get it into the close area, then I'll start going in that small area trying to determine. And that will usually tell you whether, well, is it the front bearing, or is it the back bearing, or hold on a second, maybe it's the clutch assembly, maybe it's the torque converter in the back. Don't know. But chassis gears are critical, because remember what we were talking about? That's like a big tuning fork, okay? And that's gonna magnify any noise that you have in the driveline that's running. It will magnify it up and make it sound 50 times louder than it actually is. That's the nature of a driveline support assembly. And we had it all the way up to 2019. So what I would tell you is this: don't be afraid of it, but accurately diagnose it with chassis. That's where I'm going with this. Okay? All right. What other questions do we have on fifth or sixth? Oh, and we do have the microphone if you guys would like to step up and use the microphone. No other questions? No? Wow, that was easy. Only had one question. Okay, I'm going to move the next car in. All right? He's right. Okay, we are back, and we are now looking at a very, very nice 2007 Corvette convertible. And this particular question, we're going to start with oil drips once in a while, popping noise in the rear end. I don't know what that means. Okay, sir, please explain.
So it seems like when I'm driving along, I'll pull out of my driveway and I go down the road and I think it's top left to go on the main road. More so when I'm way in the rear end, I'll hear a pop. Okay. But then after I drive for a while, it doesn't happen. And that's it.
Okay, so popping noise out of the rear, and you always find it's more in parking lot maneuvers?
Yeah.
Always more in parking lot maneuvers?
Yeah, more than 90 degrees turn, not a curve.
Right, but a tight turn, like maybe you're backing in the parking space, or you're getting out of a driveway or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. 2007 was kind of in the middle of the changeover in the rear differential. Now, in 2005 to 2009, we had multiple different suggestions from General Motors on the differential lubricant within this vehicle. And the reason why was because, look, let's face it, technicians, they had a tough time mixing the additive for the limited slip differential with the regular lubricant. So sometimes you wouldn't get enough friction modifier to keep it operating smoothly. So what happens is, when you get into tight turns, instead of moving smoothly, it does this. And it's very abrupt. It'll hold release. And it'll do that, especially on tight turns. Why? Because when you're taking a tight turn, let's say we're going to take a turn left. That inner tire has to go less distance than the outer tire. So you have to have that movement in the limited slip clutches and the movement to be smooth. In 2009, GM fixed this by reintroducing a new lubricant that we've been using all the way up to 2019. That lubricant was specifically pre-mixed, so no technician could screw it up. And all you did was you drained the fluid and you put the new fluid in. You did a bunch of figure 8 turns, gone. But there's a second part to this. The rear half shaft nuts. You have two half shafts that go out to the wheels, and there is a nut behind you, the 34 millimeter nut. Those nuts have sometimes been known to relax a little bit. So then, what I would ask you is, when you shift from reverse to drive, do you hear any type of clicking noise? No clicking noise at all. Okay, because normally, if these nuts relax, when you go from like reverse to drive, you hear, it'll be like almost like a tick noise. And then it'll be gone. You'll never hear it again until you go from the opposite gear. So if you're going from drive to reverse, tick, and then it'll be gone. Then you'll do whatever you do, and then you turn it back into drive, you'll hear it again. So I don't think you have the axle nut issue. I think it's strictly the lubricant. And later on, let's give you the part number for that lubricant. It's actually 88862624. It's a Dexron LS, which means Dexron Limited Slip. Alex, up in the air, please. And now we're going to check on the underside. We're going to take a look on the underside for the oil dripping. Where did you notice the oil dripping? From the front or the back? Okay, from the front. So we're going to focus up here. Now, I noticed you put Continental Extreme Contact DWs. How do you like it?
I like it particularly well.
Good tires. Real good tires. Love them. Not one flax. Continental still hasn't gotten into that end of it. But they're still an excellent tire, especially if you like to drive, shall we say, semi-aggressively? Semi-aggressively. Absolutely it is. So now, from this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to take a look. Alex, stop. All right, so we're going to take a quick look underneath the vehicle. And sir, you can step along to the front. Now, two things I noticed right here. You definitely got oil residue. Okay? You can see there, where the powers that be. And you have an aftermarket K&N oil filter, which is fine. I mean, it's not a huge thing. But I would say you're probably going to need to do an oil pan gasket on this. Because you can see the leakage right here. And it all starts right here at the front. So as you're driving, the oil is flowing backwards. See how it's all picked up here on the flanges? Well, those flanges are, that's where all the oil hits. So it's coming off here, and it's just sitting right there. Because you're driving at speed, there you go. Now, as far as the rest of it, you had a little bit of running with a plastic bag over here. Nothing really heavy, but the transmission, the differential, everything back there is fine. So I think it's just a lot pan gasket, and you'll be on your way.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Yeah. I don't think you have to go any deeper. The problem is they're going to have to take out the subframe, which is costly. I mean, it takes a good between 6 and 8 hours to do this job. So it's going to be a little costly, but you do it once, you do it right, you're not going to have to worry about it again. You still have plenty of life on your brake pads. I don't see anything heavy at all. I think you're going to do okay with just the oil pan gasket. All right? Yeah. What do you mean, as far as? I absolutely think it's a differential lubricant. I will stand by that all day long. Right. Okay. You can check, well, the axle nuts, you can check, but the torque is usually 130 foot-pounds. But they're one-use only nuts. So you move them, you replace them. So you follow my thought process. Even General Motors tells us if they relax, you take them off, you put new ones on. That's a given. You automatically replace them one-use only. Okay? So watch your headings just slide out there. All right, so what we've really learned today, especially with the 6th gen, is that, okay, Alex, you can put it down. At this point in time, it's not, I mean, we're not dealing with things that are really like a massive failure. What a lot of what we're dealing with is just cars are getting up in age. I mean, they're getting up in age, it requires some usage from time to time. The vehicle's 13 years old. I mean, it's not horrible, not in any way, shape, or form. Now, in this particular instance, I'll just take a quick visual look, and I'll make sure that the terminals are not oxidized in any way. But the engine compartment is very, very clean, and it looks very well. I mean, it looks like obviously you've been maintaining it. The only thing I would be a little bit concerned of is that right there. You see that white tracing over there? I have a suspicion that you might be having a little bit of water pump leakage. Okay? Because normally when water pumps leak, they'll swing it, because it'll get to the pulley, and as it spins, it's just gonna swing it up over everywhere. And see, you've got that little gap there where the air bridge is, so you don't have the swingage in the center, but you've got it on both sides. I've been watching your water pump and your coolant level. I didn't see any residue underneath, so I think it's just the basic. But,
I bought it 3 years ago.
uh-huh,
So I haven't used it for a year.
right.
That may have been part of the shit.
Okay, so okay, all right, that's a possibility. I would agree, yes. I would agree that you would see it there, and you would also see it probably on the other side as well. Okay, all right, well, that's a good thing to know. And at least you're into your vehicle, you know what you're end up dealing with. So do you have any further questions here?
So tuning.
Tuning?
Do not tune this to more than stop.
No.
Keep it stop.
Here's the reason why I really do not believe in tuning. Here's the reason why. I have actually seen what General Motors goes through with their tuning of their ECUs and what they put these powertrains through. I've seen it firsthand. And I can tell you, there is not a tuner alive that can make your vehicle as good as this is, responsive-wise, reliable-wise, and fuel mileage-wise, and everything else in between. All the different variants, cold weather, hot weather, high altitude, low altitude, emissions control, smooth driving while you're on the highway. There is not one factor that they don't look at, but they look at reliability first point. And tuning, yes, it will give you raw horsepower number increases. Because when you're wide open throttle, it's called power enrichment, and it dumps extra gasoline to protect the inside parts of the engine. Okay, that's the way to do it. So if you go back to ideal air-fuel ratio, you get more power, but you shorten the life of the engine. Which one do you want to go? You know, you can get more power, don't get me wrong. With tuning, you can always get more power, okay? The question is, everybody's trying to sell you more power. You never hear anyone, any aftermarket manufacturer sit there and say, I can give you better reliability. When have you ever heard an aftermarket company tell you that? Right. So that's the reason why I say, look, if you're going to Callaway or you're going to Lingenfelter or someone like that, that's a totally different ballgame. Because they go in and they engineer the tuning around to protect the powertrain. They engineer everything around it. They work with the transmission control. They do all of these things. They are flawlessly engineered. And I'll stand behind those type of modifiers more so. But tuning in a box doesn't happen. You follow me? All right, any other questions? All right, I think we're good to go. We're going to lower the hood on this. I'm going to back out. And then if somebody else has further questions, we'll certainly be available for question and answer for a little while. Anybody got a time check? Okay, it's 2:30, so we actually have 30 minutes for question and answer. So just give me a moment to wipe my hands down, back this vehicle out, send this customer on his way, and then we'll get to your question and answer. And then you can walk actually right up to this microphone and you can speak into it without putting your hands on it, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. We'll be right back.
Definitely a good idea. Yes, that's it, yeah. But I'm with you on that. I'm definitely with you on that one. Because there's just so much to it. There's just so much to it. So let me back you out, then you'll be able to come out. Thank you, Angela.
We were way ahead of time. After the second car, the
Mhm.
third car, we did in like, I believe it was 14 minutes. So I started giving the other guys a little bit more time,
Mm-hmm.
just to stretch it out.
No, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
All right.
It's all right.
All right, we are back, and we are going to continue on. So let's go this route. Let's see what do we have to do? What other questions do we have to answer? Does anybody? Yeah, go ahead. You can step up to the mic if you wish. I'd be happy to help you further. Okay. How much? 32,000 miles on a fifth gen. Okay. 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 Okay, what I would ask you, the fifth generation Corvette, I'm sorry, with fifth generation Corvette, what I would ask you is this. Do you, what is the fluctuation? Now, are you talking about a fluctuation while you're driving on the highway? Or are you talking about a fluctuation more like when you're driving in town, stopping those traffic? Okay. Okay, 240 degrees. And you said you have, I'm sorry, how many thousand miles? 32,000 miles. Now, did you ever have anybody look for any debris on the other side there? Okay. Okay, all right. Now, do you use the digital gauge in the bottom, or do you use only the analog? Okay, what I would tell you, you use both. You use both the digital and the analog gauge. Okay, so during that time, what is the highest temperature? You said 240 you've seen? 240 today. And what were you doing? Were you at a stop sign? You were moving. So I'm thinking you have debris in your condenser or your radiator, because look, when you have the cooling module is what I call it. And if you're at the passenger side of the vehicle, I'm going to explain it this way. Air comes in, you have your condenser here, you have your radiator here, and then you have your cooling fans. And they're tilted this way to give better cooling efficiency and keep the hood line long. So what happens is air is pushed up in and through. So if you are not, you said you didn't or did not see temperature fluctuation at highway speed. Okay, so even 215, that's a little bit high for highway speed driving. So most of the time your fluctuations are city driving. Okay, so I'm definitely leaning toward there's something being, some type of debris blocking air coming through. That's really what I'm thinking here. Right. 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 Did you try using a garden hose through it? Okay, here's what I would suggest. I really believe that AC condenser has some debris in there and it's creating the problem. Because the AC condenser, the whole thing has like a cap on it. And you know where your air intake goes up over the top of the radiator? Take that off and then take those 4 bolts out and hold the cap on. And if you take that out, I'm gonna put one, you're gonna see a lot of debris up there. Okay? It's gonna take you a couple hours to do this. And then literally what I would be doing is taking a hose from the back side. I actually have a wand that goes down in there. They sell them online. And then it attaches to a garden hose. And then you just put it down in between the fan and the other side of it. And it literally will blow all of the residue away. It'll blow a lot of it out of it. No, it's a rod with a 90-degree bend. The actual manufacturer of the is Sexton. And I can get you that part number later on if you wish. And that one, like I said, attaches to a garden hose, goes right down in, and you can flush the entire thing out because it's a 90-degree spray down. Mm-hmm. Sure. Sure. Yeah, it's really difficult because let me tell you, unless you're using water, you can't get to a lot of it. I mean, literally, I had one customer with a 2004, I literally had to evac the AC system, drain the cooling system, take both units out, and I couldn't even shine a flashlight through it. So if I'm you, I'm going in and trying the flashlight test. From where the fans are, shine a light through it and see if you can see it at the front side. Through the condenser and the radiator together. Because remember, airflow's gotta go through the condenser, through the radiator to get actual cooling. So if either of those two are blocked, you're done. Yeah, I'm really thinking that's where you're at. I'll find it after 4 p.m. and you and I can discuss it further. Yes. All right? All right, thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Okay, so do we have any other? Okay, sir, you can come on up. We'll answer the question for you. Go ahead. What can I do for you, sir?
I have a 98.25
Okay.
I have issues with leaking between the gaps, both sides.
Mm-hmm.
One that butts up against the back and the one that butts up against the front.
Yeah.
The same gaskets, but it just can't seal that up and keep it in there.
Okay, you changed the weather strips. When you changed the weather strips, what did you put in there? Were they GM? Because I don't think GMs are available anymore.
No, they were acting.
Okay. It's always tough to get the removable roof between the windshield, the removable roof, and then the back. It's always tough to get those mating surfaces to line up. There are a lot of adjustments to that, both at the front, at the two windshield headers, the latches, and then also at the back with the center pull latch at the back. So those have to be adjusted correctly, otherwise you can't really get an effective seal on those areas. So what I would suggest is, first off, obviously take a look and see what your gap is. I mean, is it large enough that, you can stick a couple sheets of paper in there, or is it really not that much at all? How bad is the gap? Okay. Okay, all right, and I mean, like I said, if I saw the vehicle, I could probably give you a better determination of exactly what your attack, the course of action should be. Well, I mean, if you want to after 4 o'clock, you can bring it up over here and I can take a quick look for you. All right, that's fine, we'll do that, that's good. All right, so thank you very much. All right, so what other questions do we have? Yeah, yeah. 20, and it's 20 minutes to 4, so we actually ran, 20 minutes to 3. Okay, so we have 20 minutes. All right, go ahead, sir.
Oh, look, you're similar.
Thank you, sir.
2011 Grand Sport, the pins that go on the caliper, the four pins.
Mhm.
The trouble with those, obviously, is strip one, put a graphite alcohol mixture on this, trying to keep it with it. I think it's the detergent inside of the gel board, it's always harder to take off the injury.
Absolutely.
What can I do to lubricate this?
Okay. Do you change, when you remove those pins, do you
Do not change, clean them up.
clean them off? Is it usually just because of changing the brake pads, or you just
Trying to get rid of the brakes.
brake squeeze? Okay, well, here's an interesting part about Grand Sport Z06 brakes that a lot of people don't know. Those pads are literally one use only, the pins are one use only. When you change the pads, you should be changing the pins. And the torque on those pins that goes into the caliper is only 34 pounds.
I do torque it.
Okay, so you do torque them. So what I would suggest you to do, if you're still dealing with, I think you're right, whatever wheel cleaner you're using might be leaching in and creating oxidation in that area. So what I would do, a drop of synthetic engine oil right on the threads, and then torque them in. Okay, simple drop of synthetic engine oil. Engine oil doesn't get washed away by cleaners.
Good point. Okay, good.
Might be a thought.
Very nice.
Okay, just one drop. Don't soak it down, and only on the threads, not on this moving sleeve. All right? Sir, have a good day. Take care. So what else we got? Anything else? Everybody's practicing their social distancing at the back of the room. Marty! Sir, do you have a question? Right up to the microphone, please. What can I do for you?
Hi, so I have a C6 convertible, and it seems that the rear window catches
Yes,
when it comes down.
yes.
I have a 240, check it out, or you do something like that there?
You have a 240.
Yes, what,
You had an appointment,
yes,
and you didn't come up. Where's your car?
right there,
Oh, so your car is here.
yeah.
Oh, okay. So do we have an open appointment that wasn't set? Okay, well, the whole thing behind the window tip adjustment for that is that it requires a multitude of different factors. You have to look at it. First off, a lot of people don't realize that if you have your seat back far enough, and when the top comes up like this, the seat back will actually push the window back and then create a contact as the tonneau comes down. And you're a big dude. So you being a big dude, your seat back's probably all the way back. Just a thought here. Okay? Now, if you fold your seat back up and you still have the issue, then it's definitely going to be a convertible top adjustment. There will definitely be something that we need to address with that. So what I would say is try the seat back first. Okay? Take a look, see if that helps you. If it doesn't, come back and see me tomorrow. We'll fit you in somehow. Fair enough? All right, we'll do it that way then. All right, sir. Thank you very much. Have a good day. So we got somebody else. Okay, we got another person coming up. Gonna ask a question. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Use 2001 coupe convertible or Z06. Okay, so 2001 convertible.
I want to have it going through, everything's worked out, all of the your own parts there, that were great, that broke. How long is the appointment? Because we would be coming up on.
Oh, if I'm doing the work.
Yeah.
All right, look. Here's the entire point behind all of what you're saying. Look, if you don't have a service history, I will agree that the fluids would be your first course of action. However, I do not agree on the harmonic balancer. If you cannot take a measurement, and normally a harmonic balancer spins this way. The way that General Motors tells us to test this is put a dial indicator on it and then rotate the crankshaft 360 degrees. And then that movement in and out is how we determine if the balancer needs to be replaced or not. Okay, so that's the first point. Do you have a belt noise when it's ice cold?
Yes.
You have a chirping noise. Okay, so then that would be an indication of a harmonic balancer, yes. Is the vehicle here? Okay, so we can take at least a visual inspection, we can take a quick look and see exactly what we have. I think that's the best way to go about this, because look, in the fifth generation, we also had issues with what we call serpentine belt tensioners. But it was the belt tensioner for the AC belt. Because the AC belt couldn't be more than that thick. Okay? So what happens is when these tensioners lose their spring force, it can sometimes create that same noise. So I really want to look before I leave, because look, everybody wants to sell you everything, but they don't want to have you be reliable. I would much rather prefer doing a visual inspection, saying, okay, well, you're okay on the harmonic balancer, or no, yeah, we're going to need to replace it, but then also scan all the computer modules, check for any updates, check your wheel alignment, make sure that your wheel alignment is done. But look, if we're doing a harmonic balancer, we've got to take the rack and pinion out of the car, which means you got to do the wheel alignment anyway. So you follow where the confluence comes in. You've got all these different factors, and you want to get them all hit down. So 2001, 2002 is really where I feel C5 really evolved. Because we had Z06 in 2001, and it just got so much better in 02 with the convertible, and then 03 with the 50th, and then 04 with the commemorative edition. So you follow my thought process. I have a very difficult time processing all the vehicles do it. No, they don't. And I guess there are certain repairs, like the harmonic balancer, that has a more often repair than other parts. But until I look, it would be foolish for me to sit there and say, yeah, sure, give me your money. You know, it doesn't sit well. Okay? All right, so. You can bring it over. We'll just take a quick visual inspection, and then we'll go from there. Sound good? Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. You got one more question. What you got?
Okay, so it's a
right?
automatic.
Right.
I mean, and if I take a slow lazy turn to the right, I feel like a little thump in that. It's very little time, but sometimes it's like they're flying a big thump.
What's the mileage on that 012? 012, 50,000 miles. Have you ever changed the differential lubricant? Remember the gentleman I had up here earlier? Oh, okay. Well, I had a gentleman in 07 who had similar issues when taking tight turns, and he needs a fluid update. But at 50,000 miles, you may just need a regular maintenance change. Do you follow me? Go the simple way. Do you hear any clicking between reverse and drive?
There may be a click, yeah.
If you hear an occasional click, then maybe those rear axle nuts and the half shafts have relaxed a little bit. That could be an issue as well. So we'd have to take a quick look and see exactly what you have. But the ticking noise would be your indicator. If you have the ticking noise, it's probably more so the axle nuts. But like I said, it's one of those things where it's one or the other. So either the differential lubricant or the axle nuts. But the fact that you have 50,000 miles on your vehicle and you never had it changed, I'd be more inclined to go there first.
Okay.
Okay?
Is that a simple procedure?
It takes about, let's see, you have it on 12, so it's gonna take about a half hour, 40 minutes to change differential fluid.
I just had my trans fluid changed.
Flush.
Now it's a little more complicated. I had to put this, drop.
So they drop the pan, they change the filter out, and then they refill. Good.
But then you go through the
Right. Right, and if I'm going that far on the transmission, I'm gonna do the differential because I'm right there anyway. I would, yes.
Right.
All right?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Sir, pleasure. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Okay, so now, any other questions? You got this guy over here? Okay, come on up, sir. I'm still going horse and I still got 2 more days of this.
Okay, I got a 2017 C7. Sometimes when I go to the gas station to fill it up.
All right, so should we stop him now? Should we stop him now? No? Let him go? Okay, we'll let you go. Because this is 5th and 6th gen.
Oh, is it?
That's all right. Go ahead. That's fine.
But filling it up at the gas station, sometimes the pump is getting off.
Yep.
Sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, so you have a 17 Z06,
It's a Z51.
17 Stingray Z51. Occasionally when you fill the tank, it pops off prematurely. The way filling any of the 5th, 6th, or 7th gen, believe it or not, the fuel systems are all very similar. The way you fill it is when you fill in on the filler neck, all that excess air is ventilated out through the charcoal canister. You don't smell anything because the charcoal canister absorbs all the fluid, all the gasoline vapor. But all that excess air goes out there. So if you're trying to fill the tank and you're having it clip off prematurely, that usually means that end where the charcoal canister is usually has some type of restriction. So it's not allowing the pressure of the air being forced out. It's not allowing the air to continue to be evacuated. And it's holding that in. But you said it's a 17, right? What's the mileage on it?
It's only got 1,200 miles.
17 with 1,200 miles on it. I mean, look, I know this sounds silly, but I could literally say that a spider could build a nest in the vents all on.
It's 50 miles. It's, like I say, it doesn't do it all the time.
Right.
Maybe about once every 3rd or 4th time I fill it up.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, look, the problem is when vehicles stick, spiders like to build nests in them, and especially vent solenoids because they got a nice hole cavity and they just go up in there. And I can't tell you how many I've pulled out of 5th and 6th gen. So ideally, I'm looking in that area first. I'm looking at the vent solenoid, but do you have an extended contract or anything? Do you have an extended warranty that maybe you can utilize with your local dealer?
I mean, it's going to 1 year.
Well, 3 years, 36,000 miles for ventilation. So I'd be looking at it. But I would check with your dealer and see what he can do for you.
I'm seeing some guys online that take my hand and turn it upside down. It's crazy with that, but then it doesn't.
Well, I mean, look, fuel nozzles are engineered to be filled with the handle down. I have a tough time getting past that. For safety reasons, I don't want fuel blowing back out. I just don't want that. So that being said, I say no, fix the problem. And that means finding the restriction on the evap canister side of that, which is all on the passenger side of the vehicle in the inner fender well. So you gotta take the passenger rear wheel off, you've gotta get that inner fender well out to visually inspect the cam and the neck, the pipe that goes to it, and the solenoid that's there. So that's where I'm going. All right. Fair enough, sir. Thank you very much. Time is it?
8 minutes to 3.
We got 8 minutes. We got time for a couple more questions. Anybody's up? No. Everybody's like, oh, we're bored. Shut up. Okay. All right. Well, look, this was our first live broadcast for Carlisle events, and I can tell you, without the team behind me and the people behind the camera, there's no way this happens. My special thanks to Shai Therian, Alex Boothroyd, Angel, and Rosemary Chavez. And we are the Corvette Mechanic team. We will be here the entire weekend, notwithstanding. We will help you with anything you need. If we can, we will. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You have yourselves a good day. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, you can focus on it. So, what did you do with my call? Yeah, but where is it? I thought I left it out here. Oh, okay. All right. So I gotta get Scott over here with a hydraulic jack. Don't worry about it. I would just leave it. Yeah, I would just leave it for now. That's fine. Why? Yep. That's why. Yeah, I'm asking. I'm sorry, sir. I apologize. I just wanted to take a drink. I'm going hoarse. Go ahead, sir. What can I do for you?
Well, I came up here with the purpose of possibly buying a newer Corvette. I've been looking at C6s. But what I'm really after is I just took the car for a ride. It seems fine. 2012. Is there any company here that looks over a vehicle for a fee or anything like that?
Company? No.
I mean, there's got to be a million Corvette experts here, or few, like yourself.
Well,
I didn't know where to start. I started to guest services. They've basically sent me around the whole market. Try with the club owners.
it depends. It really depends, honestly, sir, on what you do. I mean, I can probably help you out. I'm working the entire weekend here, and I've been serving GM since 1997, and I've been specially in Corvette since '98. So, I mean, if you would like me to evaluate a vehicle that you're interested in, yes, I can do that. It will have to be after hours. And then, I mean, then that's up to you. If you want to do it today, it would have to be after 5 o'clock. And I can do it. I got no problems doing that. But, you know, that's up to you.
Well, just if you have a couple moments, my own, I like cars. I'm by no means a Corvette anything I'm gonna like. But on the title work he has, he claimed the car came to an auction with a dead battery. It wouldn't start. They didn't try to start it. So on the title it says true mileage on it, 32,000 miles.
Right.
I did the he showed me the Carfax and it sort of checks, there's no like big gaps or anything.
Right.
So, since it was bought, say in 19 August, maybe 200 miles have been put on it.
See, the funny part is, all they had to do was turn the headlights and park.
Turn the headlights away.
Park. The parking lights on. All they have to do is turn the parking lights on. They can even put a jumper pack to it. And all they have to do is turn it to park, even if the vehicle doesn't start.
No.
So that's a little scary that they don't know that little bit about it. But regardless,
Even with a dead battery, it's going to come up.
no, you just put a jump pack on.
Oh,
Put a jump pack on.
well, let's pretend. And God knows I've been lied to.
Yeah. Sir, I'm not trying to poke holes, but
Yeah,
please understand, I'm trying to explain to you how I would go about it. Okay, that's all. Go ahead.
So that was a concern because at that point, it's a 2012, and at 33,000 miles, it's priced well.
Yeah.
Per vehicle. Okay. I'm just looking it over.
Right.
And he said he's willing to inspect it, from West Virginia. So that's good. But he wants like 25,000, which is in my budget.
Okay.
Kind of upgrade. But,
The only thing I can tell you is this, sir. If you bring the vehicle up to me, I will do an inspection for you. I will do a full computer scan. I will inspect it below and above. I will go through it, and I will also check General Motors service history on it. And I will validate anything. I will give you a list of what it has in it, what it's blaring. I will tell you. If the guy is here, I will show him as well. Okay? I am a complete unbiased resource. Okay? My normal fee for doing that is normally $300. Okay? But because you're here at this event, came and sought me out, I'll do it for $125. Okay? I think it's fair.
At the market.
I believe so. So now, if you choose to do that, I would also need authorization to drive it around, take it out on the road. But if I could take it around the parking lot, I can visually inspect it further. What year is this thing again?
2012.
It's a 12, so you've got a better chance than average that you're going to get a good car. 5 to 9, it can be a little bit touchy.
I mean, from your spot.
Yes, sir, that is correct. The call is yours. I will be here. I wait until 5. If you're here, I'll work with you.
You have a phone number that you can be reached or anything? Or?
Not phone number. You can reach me here. Yes, sir. I do not give my phone number out. I'm sorry.
Everything sounds wonderful.
Sir.
The question is, and I heard the announcement earlier. I started at Death Boat. They couldn't even tell me where this event.
That's all right. But I will tell you this. I will tell you this also. I will be here tomorrow till 5. And I will be here Saturday till 5. So even if you don't do it today, I am here the next 2 days. And I will help you as much as I can.
Okay. So you can't do it till after 5 when you're off.
Correct.
Okay. Cool. And you are Paul.
I am Paul.
I'm sorry, I missed you earlier. Have a nice time for that just a bit.
92? 6 feet? Man, okay, gotcha.
Taking very good care of it. And it needs paint.
I got you.
The wheels are done, cheap plated.
Yeah.
When you paint, the wheels on the 18 tail.
Yeah.
And now, if I put $5,000 into it,
Right.
if I put 5,000 into the car, that might be worth 5,000. So I say the hell with it.
Right.
But generally, it's 2012 is an okay model.
No question. Is it Grand Sport, Cooper, convertible? Coupe? So is it based on Z51? Did he tell you?
Didn't tell me, but I'm guessing.
Okay, then what I would suggest to you is the following, sir. At the very least, get me the VIN. I can tell you every single option that thing is equipped with. And I can do a GM warranty search, and I can let you know exactly what's going on. Fair?
Beautiful. And you're tied up doing more stuff.
Yes, sir, until 5 o'clock.
Are you going to have another?
Not today, but tomorrow all day, Saturday all day. Seminars on 5th and 6th generation on Saturday. Seminars on 7th, 8th, and ladies is tomorrow. And then 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, and 8 on Saturday. And if you look in your owner's guide, if you look under the seminar page, you'll be able to find it. My name is Paul, and I'm of the Corvette mechanic team. Yes, sir, you may.
So if I wander back through here and see, can you do it tonight? You'll be
Yeah, I'll be here till 5. All right, I'll do that right now. All right, so I'll be here till 5. Thank you, sir. All right.